What's up, fellas? In the second video of the day, we're going to be talking about the Memphis Grizzlies. Those of you that have watched some of my videos over the last year and a half, you know that I really respect this franchise and I really appreciate the way that they have moved on from the Marc Gasol, Mike Conley era and have proven themselves to be one of the more competent organizations in the league in a scenario in Memphis in which at times it can be pretty difficult to put together even a decent team. They've managed to do that with some upside as well. But with those things said, we're going to talk about some potential issues here, but just kind of having a general conversation about how they can raise their ceiling. Do they have an opportunity to be a really, really good team? Are they just destined to be, kind of a half decent one? What the timeline of all that looks like? That's what we're going to be talking about in the second video of the day. But really quickly before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload twice a day, every single day on this channel, so it's a great place for the most consistent NBA content on YouTube. If you're new here, by the way, what's up? My name is Tucker. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well, and you can check me out at various socials in a Linktree link down in the description below. With those things said, let's talk about Memphis. So, as of the recording of this video, they are the 8th seed in the Western Conference, and it's been a weird year. Jaren Jackson has not touched the floor yet for Memphis. Ja Morant, missed a relatively significant amount of time at the beginning of the season. Just like every team this year, they've dealt with weird circumstances, and for them to be the 8th seed currently is honestly pretty impressive. And there's definitely a vibe around this group with that, they're kind of consistently overachievers. Not that there isn't talent on this roster. Ja is awesome. They've got other pieces like Jonas Valanciunas and Dylan Brooks. And Jaren Jackson, when he plays, obviously is a really good player. Everybody knows I love Jaren Jackson. But there's this feeling around them where it's like, okay, we could be missing one or two guys on a given night, but we're still going to put ourselves in a position to potentially win games that maybe we shouldn't. And that is, a feeling around a franchise that is difficult to get a hold of, but once you have it, it kind of sticks with you. Teams that come to mind for that are like last year's Toronto team, this year's Oklahoma City team at times, some past Spurs teams. They're just teams that provide a level of confidence and competence that I think Memphis has definitely put themselves in that category of. With those things said, it's important to also kind of evaluate the timeline, the future, and the ceiling of this roster as they have been kind of trying to rebuild it over the last couple of seasons. So first up, the priority is clearly to make the playoffs for Memphis this year. But then as you look forward past that, one of the more significant question marks is what's happening with Jaren Jackson Jr. As I said, has not touched the floor this year, is still recovering from an injury. It's still unclear when he's going to be back, and I think some of the mystery around him is definitely making some people nervous, especially given the fact that next year will be the final year of his rookie contract. Then you need to find out the value of this guy. Keep in mind, as a second-year player, he had a really, really good season, and is someone that I think is one of the more versatile young front court players in the league in terms of his ability to defend, protect the rim, shoot, and score. And it would just be really nice to have another year to fully evaluate where you're at with Jaren Jackson, and most of that, if not all of that, is going to be taken away this season. And so, as you then look at their payroll, you're thinking, where does the next step come from? Ja is awesome. You hope that, assuming he's healthy, Jaren Jackson is very, very good. Some other semi-interesting young players on the roster, but apart from that, you're not overly excited about anybody else being a huge ceiling raiser on this roster. And I think it's clear that they do need to raise their ceiling in some kind of a significant way. So how do they go about doing that? Well, again, as you look at their payroll, taking out of the equation the Jaren Jackson extension for the moment, this offseason they're going to have some salary cap space. They can open up a significant amount more by declining Justice Winslow's team option. He has not had a good season. I was hoping this would be the Justin Winslow comeback season, but it kind of seems like he's mostly done at this point. It's not unlikely at all that they're going to decline that team option and then go into the offseason, with less than $90 million in payroll, which provides them some flexibility to add some players there. And then as you go into next year, they obviously have way more salary cap space. But again, keep in mind that they're going to need, a Jaren Jackson and a Ja Morant extension here at some point down the road. Now, if we're talking about this offseason specifically, as we talked about, some of the free agency stuff is not that exciting. Mike Conley, but you don't really need another point guard alongside Ja Morant. Kawhi Leonard is obviously not going to Memphis, and it's unlikely he's going to leave LA at this point. And even someone like DeMar DeRozan, who I think would be an interesting fit, obviously doesn't fit the timeline of Memphis super well, but can help them as a scorer and provides them a boost offensively that I think they do need at times, so that Ja doesn't have to do, as much on the perimeter in terms of, being a creator. But DeMar DeRozan going to Memphis is just a little bit odd, right? Unless they throw a ton of money at him, I think that's unlikely as well. So even though it seems like the primary avenue for improvement here for Memphis is free agency, whether it be this offseason or next, again, depending on what happens with the Jaren Jackson extension that offseason and then Jaws the following, even though that avenue appears to be the clear way to improve, I'm not sure that there are a ton of options in order for them to be able to do that. And then your other idea is, okay, well, what about trade stuff? You know, maybe they've got some picks and some players they could potentially move. Unless you're counting Jaren Jackson as a guy that they could potentially move, there aren't a ton of significant assets on this roster outside of their own draft picks, which ultimately is probably where most of the compensation would have to come from if they did want to make a move to try and again raise the ceiling of this group. Apart from that, unless they get very, very lucky in the draft or move up in the draft and go and get a big time player, it's actually kind of difficult to see how this roster is going to improve in a really, really significant way over the next couple of seasons. And so what you're counting on is that Jaren Jackson comes back healthy and is really, really good. And then you've got that duo, and you can just kind of say, okay, no matter what happens every season for the next 10 seasons, assuming they're healthy, we've got Jaren Jackson, we've got Ja Morant, and we can kind of add pieces, we can finesse some different stuff, and eventually we can find ourselves in a position where we're a top 4 team in the West because we've got this duo, this solid foundation for years and years and years. Even if both of them are on max rookie extensions, we can find a way to make it work because we're already good, even without Jaren Jackson playing a lot, or not playing at all this year. And then even, you know, with maybe not a ton of other talent on the roster in terms of high-level guys, we're still good, and then we have the opportunity to be great. As long as we have those two guys in place, we can add pieces around. Now, the issue with that mindset is becoming, no offense Pacers fans, but kind of the Indiana Pacers of the Western Conference. A team that's there, a team that everybody knows is good, they're competent, but nobody's really ever scared of them, and they struggle to reach any kind of significant championship level ceiling for years and years and years. I'm not saying that's where Memphis is headed. I'm just saying it's difficult right now for me to imagine a scenario in which that's not what they end up being, unless the ceiling of the Morant-Jaren Jackson combo is even higher than I'm thinking that it is, and I like to think I'm kind of overly optimistic about that duo in the first place. So overall, when you start looking at it, you're like, okay, yeah, Memphis is a really good up-and-coming team. I can't wait to see what they're going to do. Then it's like, wait, what are their options? Unless they can really convince someone significant to sign as a free agent in 2021 or 2022, again, whatever happens with the extensions on after that, it kind of seems like this is the ceiling of this group. Unless one of the young guys on the roster really, really develops into a significant trade piece, unless they get really, really lucky in the draft. I mean, you guys can look at this and tell me maybe I'm missing something, but ceiling appears to be a bit of an issue here in Memphis. Now, for smaller market teams like Memphis and like Indiana, being a decent, good 5-6 seed on a consistent basis is not a bad thing. It's, you know, there are plenty of smaller market teams in the league that would love to be a consistent 5 and 6 seed every single year for years and years and years. And if that's the path that this Memphis team is on, it's not necessarily a bad one, especially if there don't appear to be, you know, a ton of other really, really good options for them. It just can be frustrating as a fan to go into the season knowing you don't have a chance to really do anything. And it's just going to be another, okay, we make the second round of the playoffs, and then we're out. So ultimately, I'm hoping for a bit more variability out of this roster moving forward. I'm obviously hoping, you know, Jaren Jackson comes back and is fully healthy. They lock up those two guys, and then they can kind of just do a bunch of different stuff with this roster over the years. By no means do they have to go and make some huge move before they sign Jaren Jackson to an extension. Like, that's not where they're at. They have shown a consistent ability to take a very intentional approach to team building, whether it be kind of slow playing the Gasol and the Conley trades and ultimately getting good value out of both, whether it be never fully committing to a tank, you know, and just trying to be at least borderline in playoff contention for the first 2 years of Ja Morant's career. All those things point towards a team that knows what they're doing and knows who they are and are not going to panic. I just kind of wanted to outline some of the concerns that I have in terms of them being this really, really good ceiling, really good high ceiling team. And ultimately, that's what I want for Memphis. That's what I want for Ja. That's what I want for Jaren Jackson. I just question if it's ever actually going to happen for them. I hope it does. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think they should do, what they could do if it's ever going to happen for them. And yeah, that's going to be the end of the second video of the day, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, as I said in the beginning, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you can check me out at you don't want to check me out at socials yet. You can leave a like rating on the video. You can check out other boxes on screen here as well as on the channel as a whole. You can check out other videos from me if you're enjoying them. Leave a like rating. Check out the various socials on the screen. And yeah, if you missed the first video of the day, we talked about some play-in tournament stuff, some comments that Luka made about it, and some of the benefits of the play-in tournament for this season if you're interested in that. And yeah, I think that's all I got. I'm kind of all over the place with the outro here. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.